Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This Friday, the 21st of February 2014, this is the 7th overview of the markets from allaboutshipping.co.uk. This is John FARACLAS talking to you as usual on this Friday evening. The markets, they are still resisting the fall, and earlier on, the Baltic Dry Index closed to 1,157 points, which is up 11 points from yesterday and 69 points since last week. Overall, the index is down 1,052 points, which is expressed in percentages, if we like to say so, to 48% since December's last closing, where the index stood at 2,227 points. You must remember this figure, it's important. 3 2s make 6 plus 1 makes 7. That's important in numerology. Now then, we have to use our humor to cover up our verbal mistakes, but here we go. The most important issue is that the index which drives up and down the market, that being the capers. The capers again were up now 21 points, and overall, since yesterday, and overall 147 points since last week, reaching 1,701 points. The main problem, which is also a personal problem in case of what's the argument about this, is the most important size in the dry market, and this is that of the Panamax. The Panamax index is down now to 1,244 points, which is 7 points since yesterday, and overall it's 67 since last week, 13,011 points. This is important given the fact that cargoes come to bottoms, and before the expansion of sizes in the bulk trades, we take as a rule the twin deckers of the era of the Liberty ship, then of the twin decker, the SD standard design, the SD14, and that of the Freedom. Then the size went over to the 22,000 tons, so in all things being equal, it covered the 20,000+ tons cargo. So if we have a size which fluctuations does not come together with reality, that's a problem for the market, and this is the Panamax. Having said so, add to this the delay in the Panama Canal. That will create a big havoc in everything to start with Panamax, post-Panamax sizes, etc. The Baltic Supramax Index, the BSI, and the BHSI were also up now, and it closed down at 1,098 points and 677 points, which is 11 points up and 1 point up since yesterday, 100 plus for the BSI and only 6 for the BHSI. These are important issues to see on the dry trade. The wets now, they continue to fall. These are very interesting and difficult times for the wet industry. I don't believe, of course, that there is a curse because of the wet weather we're facing in the United Kingdom and elsewhere, but historically, these are very strange figures for the wets. The Baltic Dirty Dry Index went down to 770 points, which is -2 since yesterday and 48 since last week. The Baltic Clean Tanker Index, on the other hand, it closed down -1 point since yesterday, and it's now steady at 595. So again, very strange comparabilities between the dry and the wet market. Again, it's a very strange situation. On another tone, we have the events in Ukraine, which I'm sure you have read in one of the special reports, a brief report on this site. And of course, it is not encouraging from what the world is witnessing the last week, and we sincerely hope that the peace coexistence of the current opposing groups, let's call it like this, will be restored soon. There might be an uncomfortable situation, yes, but to all assumptions we must have law and order by peaceful solutions. One thing that all the parties involved in this melee must understand is not that just Europe is trying to go eastwards, okay? Because Europe, in political geography, whether people will like it or not, stops in the Ural Mountains. This is Europe. And that's it. End of the story. Of course, I have put that in writing. It is not the right time for those who are trying to flare up situations there, choose this time of the Sochi Olympic Games. That's a very grave mistake from wherever it emanates. What is important is that Ukraine, like Russia, European Russian if you like to call it, is a member of the European Fraternity of States. Right? So that's it. So these aggravations do not serve any single purpose. And not just because I am of a Greek background, but only the Greeks that will really rule this area, and we have been, if you like it, involved in this area since the 8th century BC, with our colonies, our commercial colonies, know best how the world can use Greece's and the Greeks' good offices to sort out this big dispute. This is very important. On the other side now, let's go to the other side of the Atlantic, the south side. I am advised, and I can see slowly what is happening in South America's north, and this is Venezuela. Again, here, Mr. Nicolas Maduro's presidential elite, if you like it, are trying to diminish Leopoldo Lopez's situation there, and things can go off-hand. So, it is not nice to hear that even Cuban mercenaries undercover are getting involved, these elements from revolutionists. This is 2014, and the revolutionary elements from wherever they emanate, and in particular from the red hot world, is different. And I'm saying this because the Greek Secretary General of the Greek Communist Party is trying to produce his own views both for Ukraine and both for Venezuela. Communism, whether you like it or not, is over. Once we are all enhancing and having a better way of life with modest capitalism, I repeat this, I guess that we have to put communism on the shelf. And this is a very important issue. Okay? So let's try amicably, with peaceful means, to restore law and order. Obviously, as a Greek, I believe that war is father of all. If you don't destroy, you cannot rebuild, and this is the message. But I mean, there are rules of the game, and we should not exceed these rules, otherwise those who are trying to conflagrate areas in the Black Sea or in South America, they will fall, believe you me, in their own graveyard. Okay? Now, let's come to some better tones, some better events, to have the positive side. Over 1,100 attendees attended the International IBA Ball in Grosvenor House Hotel in Mayfair. That was really a super event, and of course, whatever the market is, up or down, ships need fuel, diesel and lubricants to continue and carry on their obligations for the world to receive the goods for the survival. Of course, it's a good thing to see that there are many important issues that these people, they do care, is the environment, very importantly, and the emissions from fuel, diesel, and even the lubricants. So you are heading to a better world. That having said, EBA also celebrated its 20th anniversary. And equally, in London, last night, the famous London Shipping Law Centre, which was launched by her director, Dr. Aleka Mandaraka-Shepherd, 20 years ago in January 2003 and 4, launched her new book last night. It was a triple event. It was a very big event for the London Shipping Law Centre, which, besides the launching of her third edition of her book, which was about the modern maritime law, we had the interesting event, an international event, the recent development, the Ruby relief, vis-à-vis freezing injunctions and anti-suit relief. It was an excellent event which had as its chairman the Right Honorable Justice Christopher Clark. From the US we had Alan Van Prague, which is also a very great contributor to our site and a very good friend. He speaks Greek, by the way. Ravi Ashwani, from a barrister from Stone Chambers, and of course at the end we heard Dr. Shepard's comments on this event. It was a very nice event, and the third event, very importantly, the triple celebration was that at Quantum Chambers now it will be based the center in a very interesting environment with lawmakers, as I call it, and it's the House of Law, as I call it, and this is very good news. Now, coming to some other important news that came up within the last 48 hours, the 81 nationally owned Royal Bank of Scotland, it seems that its shipping division will remain, and why not? This is the division that keeps afloat the bank, and its head Lambros Varnavidis is doing his best and has done his best over the last 25 or so years, who is involved and now heading this department. This is an important issue for retaining a membership in the International Ship Finance League. So this is good news. We had some natural disasters over the last month. We had the floodings over here in the UK, where the earthquakes in Greece, in Cephalonia, and precisely with another earthquake today at 4.4 of the Richter scale. But guess what? There was an earthquake at the entrance of the British Channel yesterday during lunchtime at the 4.1 magnitude of the Richter scale. Well, you know, things are shaking around, and you're talking about fog in the Channel. What about downtown Piraeus? With foggy days creating a different atmosphere, and the entire Greece was surrounded by fog. So we cannot go against the natural disasters, and this is really very important. Lastly, because of the events that have engulfed the world since the millennium began, and this is piracy and terrorism, we have the issue of the deaths of two guards, two former SEALs of the American forces on board the Maersk Alabama, under very strange circumstances, in my belief, and from what comes to this office here. And I guess that it is of paramount importance to make sure the selection of guards, the training of guards, irrespective if these guards have been at the elite forces of any nation. We should show zero tolerance to any habits, and we should meticulously check around and scrutinize all the past of every single guard who goes on board ships. Fine, the world, and I will maintain this view, has failed to control piracy and terrorism one way or another. But we should not use the ISO and all this jazz to make sure that we've got the appropriate people on board ships to safeguard the transportation of goods, to have our world in order. So, this is John FARACLAS of allaboutshipping.co.uk, and we expect your comments on our presentations of every Friday, because this is unbiased and comes honestly. We are the channel that we're trying to change the world in a peaceful way, the way of shipping business, the most important business in the world. Thank you very much, and have a nice weekend.